stand on up. We got a song to sing. It is number 1018 in the teal, if you're with that one. Otherwise, you can look at the lyrics on the screen. Just clap your hands. 1018. Oh, sorry, 1015. 1015. 15.
Welcome to the worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lakeland. My name is Heather Norby. I am the spiritual life director for this congregation, and I use the pronouns she and her. I'm also a seminary student at Meadville Lombard Theological School in Chicago, and I have I'm in the middle of a semester. This is my fourth part-time year of seminary out of about 7 or 8 or so. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful October morning. To those of you here in person and to those of you on Zoom or social media, we are glad to have you, however you have arrived. Please know that you belong here, whatever your gender identity, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, abilities, or theological beliefs. Unitarian Universalism is a loving and affirming faith in which we learn, grow, and co-create the sacred as a community. If you are new here, please know that we would love to get to know you better. So please join us after the service in the social hall for potluck today. Or if you are on Zoom or social media, say hello in the chat feature. We publish an e-newsletter every Wednesday, and it has all the information about what goes on around here and how you can get involved. So make sure you read it or sign up for it. There's a sign-up sheet in our hallway. And I think there's a printed copy posted on our bulletin board. So I just want to lift up a few items that serve our mission of love plus connection equals transformation. This Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. in the sanctuary, Adam will hold popcorn theology. And he will be showing It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and possibly some other, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And you will contemplate together Linus's theology. October 30th is our annual fundraiser that we call The Raven. It's lots of fun, and this year we're doing a murder mystery. Is it the 30th or the 29th? It's a Saturday.
I thought it was the 29th.
It's Saturday, October 29th. Sorry about that. Here in the sanctuary. And we'll be raising money for the Rose Dynasty Foundation. Mama Ashley Rose will be doing this murder mystery theater with us. And so we are raising money for Mama's foundation, Rose Dynasty Foundation, which helps LGBTQ and autistic teens. And also, I think it's being split with us. Thank you. I didn't write it all down. So anyway, tickets are going to be on sale, hopefully by Monday, on the Rose Dynasty website. And we would like for everybody to be able to attend. Okay, next week's worship service, our own Maggie Colson will be speaking about courage. As Maggie was, were you the first? Maggie was the first female fighter for the city of Lakeland. So she has quite a story to tell, and that will be next week. Thank you. Okay, so let us center ourselves in courage. That is our monthly worship and programming theme for October. So get comfortable in your seats. Close your eyes if you'd like. Think about courage. What does that mean to you? Brené Brown tells us that courage is a heart word. It is a word that can indicate heroic deeds, but that's not the kind of courage we are talking about and exploring. We're actually going to explore the kind of courage that points to an inner strength and a vulnerability, a courage that helps us to speak openly and honestly about who we are and what we've experienced. Think of a time when you had to have courage, the kind that would allow you to speak about who you are, the kind that allowed you to show up as your true self, or to say something that needed to be said, despite the fear of judgment and criticism. Courage is found in unlikely places, wrote Tolkien. What unlikely place do you find courage in? Center that kind of courage in your heart right now as you take some deep breaths with me, thinking of all of the ways that finding courage has helped you and helped you become who you are today. But make sure to hold yourself gently. Because sometimes when we reflect on our courage, we think about those times when we wish we actually had more courage. And that feeling of regret might start to come up. Recognize it and move on. It's okay. Courage is hard. Courage is especially hard in this culture that instills fear in us for being or feeling different. And that fear disconnects us from ourselves and from each other. Fear does not lead to love and justice for all. But finding courage in whatever unlikely places you find it, which is sometimes our own hearts when we don't think we can do it, and sometimes it's in the hearts of others who have turned up to support us. Finding courage will connect us, give us hope, and lead us to spiritual wholeness. Breathing in, breathing out. Feel courage in your body. Identify where it lives so that you can nurture it and grow it. And let this be a practice that we endeavor to be on together. We will create sacred space now by lighting our chalice. My chalice lighting words were written by Paul Sprecher, and they are called The Struggle for Freedom. We light this chalice in memory of the courage of those who have struggled for freedom, the persistence of those who've struggled for justice, and the love of those who've built beloved communities to carry on the light of hope. Colette Chilton is our chalice lighter today. Please join us in singing and signing Spirit of Life, hymn number 123. I know that our families are on their way with their kids, and we do have a story of all ages, and we're just going to go ahead and do that, knowing that they're on their way. They come from a very long way, by the way. So we wanted to talk about what this Tuesday is. October 12th, 11th. See, I cannot get the dates right today.
Dates are weird. Time is weird.
Time is weird. That's another sermon. October 11th. Sarah? Well, we're going to come down here.
Oh, yay.
So young at heart are welcome up front too.
National Coming Out Day was first celebrated on October 11th, 1988, so it's 34, just like me, as a way to encourage and support living openly as LGBTQ, the foundational belief being that humans are more likely to be accepting if they are made aware that someone they know and love identifies on the spectrum. In solidarity, it is also observed in Ireland, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom, and commemorates the anniversary of the 1987 March on Washington. The Human Rights Campaign helped to spread participation in observance, which is usually marked by public and private declarations. Gratefully, National Coming Out Day has always been a part of my life, as I experienced my mother's coming out when I was a toddler, and I was raised in a queer household. I still have her National Coming Out Day pin, and it's one of my most cherished heirlooms.
Cool.
Yeah, it was designed by Keith Haring, so it's just like a cute little human coming out of the door. Beautiful symbology.
Cool. I love it. Thank you for sharing. Well, I am going to read a story called A Day in the Life of Marlon Bundo. and it was written by Marlon Bundo with Jill Twiss and illustrated by E.G. Keller. Hello, my name is Marlon Bundo, and I am a bunny. I live with Mom, Grandma, and Grandpa in an old stuffy house on the grounds of the U.S. Naval Observatory. That's because my grandpa is the vice president. His name is Mike Pence. Obviously, this was written during the previous administration. But this story isn't going to be about him because he isn't very fun. This story is about me because I'm very, very fun. This is the story of my very special day. My very special day started out like every other day. I woke up all alone. Then I ate a fine bunny breakfast all alone while I watched the news all alone. You see, sometimes old stuffy houses are also lonely. After breakfast, I hopped to the garden to look at the flowers and say, hello down there to the bugs. Hello, Phil. Hello, Dennis. Those are the bugs. That is when I saw him. He was a big, fluffy bunny with the floppiest, floppy ears and the bushiest, bushy tail. He was bunny beautiful. I was standing still, but being near him made me feel like my heart was still hopping. My name is Marlon, I said, but my family calls me B-O-T-U-S, Botus. It's short for Bunny of the United States. It's a long story. Oh, my name is Wesley, and my family calls me Wesley, said Wesley. Wesley and I hopped together all around the garden. We hopped over the daisies. We hopped over tiny carrots that weren't ready to grow up and be lunches yet. We hopped over Phil and Dennis. Once we had hopped through every part of the garden, we didn't want to stop hopping. So we hopped right inside the old stuffy house. We hopped up and down the creaky stairs and made beautiful creaky stair music together. We hopped through the kitchen and maybe left a few bunny prints. We hopped through very boring meetings with very boring people. It was a very good hop. It was the best hop. And I realized something. When I hopped with Wesley, my old stuffy house didn't feel lonely anymore. At the end of our hop, I said, Wesley, I don't want to hop without you ever again. And Wesley said, that's funny because I never want to hop without you, Marlon Bundo, ever again. And we both said, we will get married and hop together forever. Hello, everyone, we said to all the animals in the garden. Hello, Phil and Dennis the bugs, and Pumpernickel, who is a badger, and Scooter, who is a turtle, and Dill Prickle, who is a hedgehog, and Mr. Paws, who is a very good dog. Hello, all of you. We are getting married so we can hop together forever. Hooray, said Phil and Dennis the bugs, and Pumpernickel, who is a badger, and Scooter, who is a turtle, and Dill Prickle, who is a hedgehog, and Mr. Paws, who is a very good dog. Hooray, said all of our friends, because that is what friends say. Wait, said a scary voice. You can't get married. We looked around and saw that the scary voice was coming from the stink bug. Let me tell you a little bit about the stink bug. The stink bug was in charge. He was important. None of the other animals could quite work out why he was in charge or how he was important, but he was. And that meant he made the rules. That meant all the animals listened to him even though he was, and this is true, very stinky. don't marry boy bunnies, said the stink bug. Boy bunnies have to marry girl bunnies. But this is the bunny I love, said Wesley. And this is the bunny I love, said me, Marlon Bundo. Just being next to Wesley made me a little braver. Too bad, said the stink bug. I am the stinkiest, and I am important. I am the stinkiest, and I am in charge. Boy bunnies marry girl bunnies marry boy bunnies. This is the way it has always been. You are different, and different is bad. Stinky. The other animals whispered nervously among themselves. Pumpernickel, who was a badger, came forward. I am different too, he said. I eat my sandwiches crust first. I am different too, said Dill Prickle, who is a hedgehog. I read the ends of books before I read the beginnings, just to make sure they're not too sad for me. I am different too, said Mr. Paws, who is a very good dog. Sometimes I sniff butts and I don't know why. Everyone is different, and different is not bad, said Scooter, who is a turtle. Different is special. Wait, said Mr. Paws, who is a very good dog and also a very smart dog. Wait a minute. We get to decide who is in charge. We get to decide who is important. We can vote. And on this very special day, all the animals voted on who they wanted to have in charge. They chose not the stink bug. Hooray, said me, Marlon Bundo. Hooray, said Wesley. Hooray, said all of our friends, because that is what friends say. No, boomed the stink bug. Boy bunnies can't marry boy bun. You are not in charge. So, Wesley and I got married. We had two handsome grooms, otters named Muffins and Cubby, and a flower mouse named Hiccup. We ate and drank and danced the hokey pokey. Dill Prickle was especially good. And the ceremony was performed by a cat named Pajama, who brought her wife as her date. After we ate and drank and danced, we went home together. We have to get some sleep, Marlon. Tomorrow we leave on our bunny moon. Because it doesn't matter if you love a girl bunny or a boy bunny, or eat your sandwich backward or forward. Stink bugs are temporary, and love is forever. And thank you. Thank you for being a part of our story. of joys and sorrows that flow throughout all of our lives. Let us recognize the complexities of the world and of our very human way of belonging to it all. Take a moment to reflect on all that has happened to you this week. And know that we engage in this ritual every week as a way to face the world together, as a way to heal, and to know that we are not alone. I would also like to lift up memorial service today at 3 p.m. for Jesse Carl Crossan. Marilyn invites all of you to attend. It's here in our sanctuary. So I'd like to invite you up now to the chalice table to drop a pebble in the bowl of water for the joys and sorrows you carry with you today. In for Amanda Hawks and her family. She hasn't been able to be here. Her grandmother just passed away. And also for our folks on Zoom. Go ahead and put a stone on there for them. Okay. What you are about to witness this morning are acts of courage. Not one-time heroic deeds, not acrobats walking a tightrope, or daredevils jumping from a plane, not that kind of courage. The kind of courage you are about to witness is a courage that comes from deep within, a courage that must be sustained over a lifetime. And this is the most monumental kind of courage, the kind that won't let fear win in the end, the kind of courage that persists despite the constant threat of white supremacy culture that says there is only one right way, and if you don't stay in the box of heteronormativity, you could lose your family, your job, your place to live, your access to health care, your opportunities for joy. You could even lose your own life. You are about to witness a courage that makes room for other people. Indeed, to be vulnerable enough to be able to stand up here and tell one's story nurtures courage in all of us. To make room in this sacred space, our sanctuary, for vulnerability and courage makes room in the world for people to be who they truly are, even and especially when that being is outside of what this culture views as normal or the right way to be. If you are someone who has not had to struggle to have your voice heard, if you are a person of privilege, it is your job to use your courage and your voice to lift it up above the voices of white supremacy that try to shut people out and keep them down. Listen to these stories courageously placed in front of you today, and let yourself be inspired to a courage that opens your heart and has you stepping outside of your own comfort zone to let people in. It is all of our jobs to listen and to ask, why do we even need to tell these stories? And to find the ways to make it so our children and our children's children do not have to tell stories like the ones you are about to hear. So take a deep breath with me and gather whatever kind of courage it is that you need to listen now, to open up your heart and be with the people in front of you. First, we have a story from Colette Chilton about the courage it takes to come out to yourself.
Hello. My name is Colette, and my pronouns are she or they or however you choose to perceive me. 2 Corinthians 3:2 says that you yourselves are our letter, written on our hearts, known and read by everyone. I try to live by this. I grew up in New England with a large extended family, some of whom were gays and lesbians. They were accepted as being no different than anyone else, and I never considered that they were different. And everyone I can recall playing with as a child had a mom and a dad, so that was moved to my small town. I developed an interest in her, but didn't know what to do with those feelings, so I set them aside. In middle school, my family moved to the Midwest, and I went from homeschool to public school. At this point, I realized that there were other options besides heterosexual, and I began to consider them. It was then that I entered the closet. In the book Narrating the Closet by Tony Adams, the environment for creating the closet is described as having characteristics such as learning not to talk about one's same-sex attraction, recognizing one's stigmatized identity, and knowing that one harbors a secret. Certainly these all applied to me living in a world where heterosexuality is the norm. I attempted to be open about what I was experiencing and was met with disapproval, rejection, and bullying. I re-entered the closet. Upon entering high school, I once more opened up about what I was experiencing. I was still met with disapproval, rejection, and bullying from teachers and peers alike. This time, though, although I was ostracized by many, I was also met with welcoming arms by a group of loving and queer students. For the 2.5 years I was at that public high school, I was bullied relentlessly for my different style, my different friends, and my different preferences and partners. I was called a creep and a weirdo in the locker room during PE. Even in the midst of this, I dated males and females and realized my preference for women. The treatment I received at school ultimately led to depression, anxiety, self-harming, and other rebellious behaviors. Due to my behavior and my mental and emotional health, my parents chose to withdraw me from school and send me to a Christian residential program in the Deep South. Although the counselors at the center tried to help me with my struggles, I once again faced rejection over my sexuality and ran to the closet. I pushed that aspect of myself deep down into my core and followed the program. After 15 months, I graduated and was accepted into a good Christian university in West Palm Beach. I did not even bother to come out of the closet. However, the need to stop hiding overwhelmed me, and I would talk to women on dating apps and then stand them up out of fear of repercussions from my school. Eventually, I moved to off-campus housing and began my first serious relationship with a woman. After several years, my girlfriend and I parted ways, and I immediately rebounded with a male classmate. I questioned everything I knew about my identity as a lesbian and went back into the closet, believing that if I was really straight now, I must have been lying to myself before. We had a good time together until I began to drink and do drugs. I did this to repress my feelings for other women and to numb my self-hatred. He caught on, and after some on and off, we separated for good. I regretted hurting him like that, and then added alcoholism as a coping method along with my self-harm. At this point, I graduated with a degree in mathematics, and yet I did not feel any better. Immediately following that breakup, my close friend Jenna, who I had developed feelings for, confessed her love to me. I ran away. I ran all the way to Lakeland and met another woman. We got married. I got mental health treatment and a diagnosis. I stopped self-harming, I stopped doing drugs, and I took my medications as directed. I asked for a divorce. I questioned my sexuality again. After being abused by a man as a child, was I a man-hater, as I had been accused of in the past? Was I denying my true identity as a heterosexual? Had I been faking it really, really well? Is this why my relationships never worked out? Was my being a lesbian a product of my poor mental state, something that could change as I got better? I entered a recovery program for my alcoholism and began to find myself again. With the help of my therapist and my friends, I rejected my internalized homophobia and the lies I had tried to convince myself of. Today I am sober and out of the closet. I have reconnected with my family, who accepts me and loves me for who I am. Jenna reached back out to me, and we have been dating for several months now. I have become someone my teenage self would be proud of. On the road to where I am now, I learned that there is more than just LGBT in the acronym LGBT. Being queer is a universe, and I don't have to have a label to exist in it. Some people subscribe to gender and sexuality, and while that is great for them, it isn't my thing. I believe that our higher power is love. We should strive to act in love towards one another, but we should also strive to model for others the act of loving and being true to ourselves. Thank you for letting me share.
Tell
As our congregation celebrates National Coming Out Day, I want to raise up a human named Bayard Rustin, whose life of activism guided so many movements. Mr. March on Washington, a prolific organizer in the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, fierce opponent of Jim Crow laws, and steadfast champion of global human rights. Bayard has left a legacy of bravely championing oppressed people. I like to think of him as the man behind the man of the people. Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't innately attuned to navigate the resistance of Jim Crow laws alone. He was guided and instructed. The nonviolent marches, sit-ins, and bus rides that shaped our collective impression of the struggle for civil rights were orchestrated in part by Bayard Rustin, who had delved into nonviolent Gandhian philosophies in India, going on to employ these principles in both the American Civil Rights Movement and West African independence movements. I see a delightful mix of free and responsible search for truth and goal of world community in his methods here. Mr. Rustin's charismatic influence on socio-political events is often sidelined for spotlight or ignored, largely due to his declaration of sexual identity many decades before he was afforded any legal protection or broad social acceptance. Born on March 8th, we love a Pisces, in 1912, 98 years before federal marriage equality, mind you, in Pennsylvania, and raised by his maternal grandparents in their large family home, Bayard took an early interest in direct action against Jim Crow. His grandmother, Julia, was a prominent member of the NAACP and a Quaker. These early influences of activism guided Bayard's ethics and morality. It was to Julia that Bayard first mentioned an inkling of his sexuality, saying that he preferred the company of men to women, to which she responded, "I suppose that's what you need to do." I truly believe that simple declaration sowed a seed of acceptance that blossomed into assurance, helping give Bayard the courage to live authentically. At age 30, Rustin was compelled to publicly declare and come out, being beaten and detained for riding in the second row of a bus from Louisville to Nashville. He shared the revelation in an interview. As I was going by the second seat to go to the rear, a white child reached out for the ring necktie I was wearing and pulled it, whereon his mother said something incredibly rude that we will not repeat, indicating that he should not be touching him. And he thought to himself, if I go and sit quietly at the back of that bus now, that child, who was so innocent of race relations that it was going to play with me, will have seen so many blacks go to the back and sit down quietly that it's going to end up saying, they like it back there. I've never seen anybody protest against it. I owe it to that child. Not only to my own dignity, I owe it to that child that it should be educated to know that do not want to sit in the back. And therefore, I should get arrested, letting all these know that I did. It occurred absolutely necessary for me to declare homosexuality. I was part of the prejudice. I was aiding and abetting the prejudice that was part of the effort to destroy me. Being publicly confronted by the hatred of white supremacy and responding with nonviolent action is emotional alchemy I am in awe of. I know the gravity of calling for justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, dignified response to hateful rhetoric. Bayard's remarkable ability to connect, accept, and innovate shaped every facet of his life. My personal favorite example is in the legal adoption of his longtime partner as he neared the end of life. In 1977, at the age of 65, Bayard met and fell in love with Walter Nagel. Despite their racial and generational differences, it was love at first sight for the two, and together they navigated an often unkind world. In 1982, being aware that although they had built a life together, Walter might not be able to act as his healthcare proxy or stay in their home without legal restrictions, Bayard did something unconventional, legally a bit mischievous, and remarkably smart. He adopted Walter. This seemingly silly stunt went over remarkably well with all the agency Democrats involved, affording them both the agency in life and death they deserve. What a way to hold up the inherent worth and dignity by considering the needs of a partner and in the effort to address the need, especially in an unconventional way. Respecting the interdependence of life by planning for one's own mortality is also a beautiful gift. In 1987, shortly after returning home from a humanitarian mission in Haiti with Walter, Bayard Rustin died at 75. His obituary in the New York Times read, "Looking back at his career, Mr. Rustin, a Quaker, once wrote, 'The principal factors that influenced my life are 1. Nonviolent tactics, 2. Constitutional means, 3. Democratic procedures, 4. Respect for human personality, and 5. A belief that all people are one.' Mr. Rustin was survived by Walter, his partner of 10 years. Bayard Rustin was a remarkable human, inspiration in his dedication to living his truth and sharing his gifts. He's at his core an organizer with a broad sense of how to shape impact. Turns out to be a bit of an accidental UU, and his brave decision to come out and live authentically positively impacted our world.
Bayard's story, all the stories that we've heard, remind us that we need a network of support to help people find the courage to come out and to live life authentically. Ken Wechter is going to share a story with us now.
Good morning. So, I was born the youngest of 9 children in an obviously devoutly Catholic family. But there were 9 years between myself and the next oldest brother. So I was an oops baby to, obviously my parents were older. Retired and moved to Florida when I was 9, taking me, but leaving the rest of my siblings behind. So I grew up like an only child. But being a shy, sensitive child, I had trouble making friends. And soon the kids at school noticed I was different. I was never into sports like other boys, so I was bullied and called a fag. But the bullying only strengthened my internal resolve that although I was different in ways that they couldn't understand, there was nothing normal about me. So I grew up assuming that I was heterosexual, as is the norm and expected. And there was nobody in my family or sphere of influence who was gay, and it certainly wasn't anything that was spoken about in my family. Of course, there was the uncle who was a bachelor and moved to San Francisco, but my mother was convinced he was a secret agent for the government, and that's why he kept all of his personal details to himself. Who knows? So in high school, I latched onto the first girl who gave me attention. We got married because that was the expected thing to do. I didn't think about my attraction to men. I ignored it, pushed it down, buried it in denial. I was normal. It was only with I'm showing my age here, the advent of the internet, that I was exposed to other ideas and people with different interests. Remember AOL chat rooms, anybody? So I slowly explored making friends online with other people, gay men included, and realizing that they're more closely aligned with my feelings. And at this point, I had never dared to look at porn pictures. I was just figuring things out. But to myself, I was still curious. But at some point, I finally had to confront the feelings inside myself. I made the decision that I could continue on as normal, taking my secret to, but this only allowed me to explore further in secret. So soon it was undeniable. I had an attraction to other men that I just didn't feel with women. I sought counseling to sort out my feelings. I didn't want to cheat on my wife, but telling her the truth would hurt her and lead to the demise of my marriage. But my therapist finally gave me the validation that I needed. I realized that I had to live my truth. Though it was tough, the right thing to do was to come out and let the chips fall where they may. So this wasn't easy. I don't know where I got courage from, except that my feelings were too strong to ignore. So I first told my mother. Her immediate response was, "I never knew." Mind you, this is the woman who taught me how to crochet, to sew, to cook, make latch hook rugs. I dropped lots of hints. It was obvious that I inherited my power of denial from her. So next I told my wife. She cried. I thought for a while that maybe we could stay together as friends. She'd keep the secret. She was my best friend. We'd get through this together. And I asked her please not to tell anyone, especially because I knew they wouldn't understand. But the first thing she did was run to her mother and tell her mother all about it. And after that, I knew it wouldn't work. We divorced amicably and moved on to live our separate lives. I had hurt her, I had lied to her the same way I'd lied to myself. But in the end, telling the truth was the right thing to do. So next came my quest to find a support system. And luckily at the time, there was a group listed in the phone book. Remember them? And I called and got connected to the PGLA, which was the Polk Gay and Lesbian Alliance. No longer exists, but it was in the right place at the right time for me. It was a social group. I attended some of their functions and was friends with some of the members. I found the MCC Church, which was the gay church at the time, which happened to meet right here in this sanctuary on Saturday nights. So this is where I attended. And finally, I was part of a group of my own people. I fit in abnormal. These people were as normal as could be, aside from the fact that they liked the same gender. And after a few failed attempts at online dating, I met Tim through other friends that I'd made at PGLA. And we've made a life together. We've married, we own a house, 2 dogs, and I finally have the normal life I always wanted, only this time I'm being true to myself and I'm not trying to conform to society's expectations. And together we found a home here at UUCL where we're accepted and loved. But coming out, why we have a coming out day every year is because it's a continuous process. So everyone around me who knows me knows who I am, including the people I work with. But when I people or new people come into my life, sometimes I explicitly tell them, but more often than not, I let people figure it out for themselves. After all, straight people don't have to come straight. So I talk about my husband, and that clues them in. Remarkably, I haven't really encountered anyone who seems to have a problem with it, at least to my face. Maybe it gives them something to talk about behind my back, but that says more about them than me. So I just keep living my truth. And I see it as my obligation to younger people like me who otherwise wouldn't realize you can be gay and normal at the same time. So wherever you are on your journey, have the courage to be true to yourself. The truth shall set you free.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to all who shared today. That was wonderful. Let us honor this by singing our hymn 1023, Building Bridges.
Building bridges. With
proclaimed, he said, but in the end, it's only a passing thing, this shadow. Even darkness must pass. A new day will come, and when the sun shines, it will shine clearer. May we be the ones, these are my words, may we be the ones to find the courage to push away the shadows of white supremacy culture that causes darkness for so many. May we be the ones to find the courage to help the light of love shine out clearer. Thank you for joining us today, and please say these chalice extinguishing words with me as Colette extinguishes our chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world. Thank you. Go now with courage in your heart, the kind that tells you that you are loved, you are worthy, and you can transform the world by clearing the shadows of oppression for others. Blessed be and amen.